The Mount Pleasant Town Council will see change in November, and Johnny Wright wants to be one of those people bringing change to council. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with him one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores.
Well, Johnny, it is so good to see you.
It is certainly a pleasure to meet you as well.
I appreciate this.
Certainly is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
Oh, appreciate that. So, you know, there's Gary Santos, there's Ronley Miller, there's Tom O'Rourke, and I believe G.M. Whitley who are running. And of course it's you.
That's it.
Who is Johnny Wright?
Johnny Wright is a proven leader, a man of personal courage and integrity to do what's right. Born and raised in Mount Pleasant, and ironically, after 29 years away, being back home the last 4 years, which is most important, has been the last 4 years, is I've seen a lot. I've seen how we transitioned, and at this point, you know, it's I've served my country, so now it's time for me to serve Mount Pleasant.
Wow. I want to take you to your campaign website. You said the following quote, "I grew up in the old village, and as the saying goes, was, quote, raised by a village." What does the old village mean to you?
The old village is, I said to someone when I lived in Ohio, they asked me, what is Mount Pleasant, South Carolina? What is the old village? I said, well, it's Hollywood without all the glamour. You know, we had all the riches, we had all the bondage that they don't have, and that's what the old village represents to me. It's a place where my mom and dad and family grew up at, and you know, where we were such family-oriented neighbors, new neighbors. You know, everyone knew each other, but that's not the case so much anymore. But the old village is always going to be the central hub for me, for Mount Pleasant, forever.
And it's the home of the sweet shop.
That's the home of the sweet shop. You cannot get a better burger anywhere in Charleston than the H&R Sweet Shop. And I've been eating burgers there for years.
Wow, still sitting there too.
That's right, exactly.
You were born in Mount Pleasant, you said. You were raised in the old village, and obviously you say you were in Ohio. You left here 33 years ago when I was born.
Yeah.
And now you've been back. Tell me this, Johnny. When did Mount Pleasant change for you?
Well, ironically, you know, during that 29 years away, I didn't always so much pay attention to things that were going on in Mount Pleasant during my time away. I was a mama's boy. So naturally, when I came home, it would be for a weekend, but never longer than 10 days at a time. So during that time, you know, when I came home, I was always focused and driven on what do mom need during my time at home, and what can I do to help her so that when I'm leaving, you know, I'll leave her with a better quality life, or to make things better for her at home. So I wasn't always paying attention. However, I did notice, like in the late 90s, how we were certainly changing and gravitating to be this, you know, this world-class town that we are now today. And what I noticed in that was, I noticed that whereas as a kid growing up in Mount Pleasant, and even as a high school senior growing up in Mount Pleasant, everything we did, we had to come across the bridge. Essentially everything. And I noticed in the late 90s, in my return home, where certain things were now becoming available, and it drew my excitement. It was like, wow, you know, we are really changing as a town, which was a great benefit to me because, again, ironically, when I left here, 29,084, had we not transitioned, Maurice, there may not be a John Wright here at home now, you know. So, you know, it became very important to me that we've come where we are now today.
Wow. You also said this on your website, quote, "I believe that every area of Mount Pleasant should have equal representation with the elected town council members, and that they should not be elected at large." What is the representation of Mount Pleasant Town Council in your mind?
Well, I believe town council should be a reflection of the entire 85,000 residents of Mount Pleasant, in every geographical area of Mount Pleasant. Our footprint is consistently spreading daily. I mean, we're on average, we're bringing in about 50 people plus per day that are coming to Mount Pleasant. So when I think of balance, I think that how do we get those that are coming directly connected within our local government? And I think the easiest way to do is to scale down our government so that we're not have one council member that's trying to represent 85,000, whereas it would be so much easier for them to play a major role in their districts if the districts were scaled down to 10,000 at best, and over 8, 9 districts, however they decide to draw that map. But I thought balanced representation in the town of Mount Pleasant would help us move forward, because at that point, we're giving everybody a voice at the table versus, just the voice that we've been hearing for the last 2 or 3 decades. We've certainly transitioned. So one of the greatest way, I think, for us to transition is to look at single-member districts. Now, when this issue came about, and I want to add to this, when it came about, there was all this talk about districts and how Charleston did districts and how North Charleston did districts. Well, uniquely, we didn't have the same makeup that Charleston, nor North Charleston had as it relates to creating district. But what I also knew was that Mount Pleasant, that we would get it right. That given the time and when the opportunities there, that we would become districts, that we would get it right. It wouldn't be for no other reason than it's with the will of the people.
Obviously, the people of Mount Pleasant said no, the single member districts.
Mm-hmm.
When you heard that, what was playing in your mind?
Well, I was a little aggravated that the people didn't understand the importance of it. And it became even more aggravating when I was out collecting these signatures at the shrimp festivals, right, and at the football games and at the softball games and the soccer games and, in the neighborhood door to door. It became very aggravating to me to see that 60% of the people that we talked with did not even understand what type of local government we had. Mm. They were under the assumption that we were already in districts. But where that mindset comes from, obviously, is from those that they were living in other big towns and big cities where 9 times out of 10 they may have been in an area where that was district. So the assumption is you come to Mount Pleasant and you see how big Mount Pleasant is, then you assume that, okay, you fall right into what you previously was accustomed to, and that is a district. When 60% of people didn't even realize that we were in districts. And ironically, it was a large portion of those people didn't even know who all the 9 elected officials were.
Meet and greet. Obviously, you'll be having a lot of meet and greets with people at Smoke Barbecue and other locations. And obviously, you're out there campaigning, I guess, from Old Village all the way to Hamlin.
That's no, beyond Hamlin. I'm too old, man. I'm 10 miles beyond that. They all know something. That's right.
Wow. What is the first question that people have for you one-on-one when you meet them about the growth of Mount Pleasant?
The first thing people ask me is, are you happy with the growth of Mount Pleasant? Are you happy with the way things have evolved in your last 30 years away, 29 years away? And I said, well, I'm very happy with the growth, but my concern is, and what I'm most concerned with, is how do we keep our character? Growth is an issue. Growth is not an issue that you can control, it's something you manage. But I think more importantly, I think the people in Mount Pleasant are more concerned with maintaining the character of Mount Pleasant, as opposed to, this outwardly, this not being happy with completely growth. When you take a look at some of the projects in Mount Pleasant, i.e. the Boulevard,
right,
Shim Creek, which is a newer project that, both were designed and thought out well before John Wright came home.
Okay.
But when I look at those structures could have been, if they were scaled down so that it kept the character of the town, I don't think that they would have been so much a big deal as it relates to how the growth, people would have immediately seen it. This is within the character of the town. So, if we have just kept that, I think that's what people are just much concerned about, the character of the town.
Speaking of issues, describe to me the following one word. Flooding.
Flooding is unique. Flooding is a situation that we live very close to the water in Mount Pleasant. So flooding is something, it's capable of happening, because just our proximity makes it possible to happen. It's hard to determine if it's just water rising more now than it has before. Drainage issues, whether or not it's drainage issues, but what I do know is that we live very close to the water. So the likelihood of flooding that could happen. Now what I think also needs to happen as well is that Mount Pleasant elected officials, and which I certainly plan to do, to advocate better at state level so that they understand what our drainage issues are, and then all those pipes that are in our grounds that has been there for hundreds of years, then we can show, we can, give them a reason to be as concerned about it as we local officials.
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing, man, it's a thing of the past, I think, in Mount Pleasant, ironically. Because we've peaked in Mount Pleasant as it relates to housing. I don't think affordable housing is important to the town as it is a national conversation. Now, do we care passionately about the fact that we don't have affordable housing in Mount Pleasant? Certainly, we care about that. But I think it is a thing that'll pass. What I do think is that there will be concentration on efforts going forward to make sure that that national conversation we're able to make doable in Mount Pleasant. We have a senior population that has been in Mount Pleasant for a very long time. And, you know, with the way Mount Pleasant is now transitioned, it's not as affordable for them on fixed incomes. You know, we have firefighters and police officers that work in the town of Mount Pleasant every day, that drive into Mount Pleasant because they can't afford to live in Mount Pleasant. Those are issues that we have to fix.
Yeah.
We certainly have to fix this. And if nothing else, if there is appearance that we can never have affordable housing again, then we're gonna certainly lose a lot of long-term residents and people that naturally love Mount Pleasant but just can't afford to live there.
The apartment moratorium.
The apartment moratorium, we built a whole bunch of apartments in Mount Pleasant. A lot of apartments have been approved and permitted in Mount Pleasant. Will that help in the affordable housing area? Possibly, because then some of those young folks that are professionals that want to live in Mount Pleasant, then maybe they can move into Mount Pleasant. The moratorium on apartments, moratorium is such an ugly language, you know. So you have opposition on both sides anytime you hear the word moratorium, because it's like a stoppage. We want to stop things from happening. Well, the one thing is a fact is that moratoriums aren't being conveyed to the 50+ people that are moving here every day. They don't know that we have moratoriums in place because obviously they're still moving to Mount Pleasant. Do we need to stop apartment buildings? We certainly need to stop and take a pause and take a look at it to make sure that we're not, you know, again, taking away from the character of the town.
Let me fast forward to November. Obviously, you want to be elected for town council. What would you do on day one as town council member?
On day one, a town council member, I would ensure that we look at, clearly understand the process of single-member districts and how it would benefit the Mount Pleasant. We have an issue in Mount Pleasant, and that is 2013, 2015, we're a resident of about 70,000 registered voters, and we're turning out about less than 12,000 voters. Those numbers have to change dramatically. I hope in November 7th that just my presence on as a candidate for council will increase that number by 20,000 votes. I would like to see 20,000 more registered voters turn out to vote. It's going to do several things for us in Mount Pleasant. It's going to bring the attention to the state that we're now galvanizing our people to get out to vote. Second thing I want to do is I have an immediate need to create a youth council. We have to, everything that we're going to do now in Mount Pleasant, they're going to inherit. So my immediate need on council would be to create that youth council. So therefore, we have a youth voice at the table that are helping us move forward as we move forward as a town.
And I know you're very heavily into supporting veterans as well.
I'm as a veteran,
Yeah.
I think it's of the utmost importance that we get our veteran population in Mount Pleasant more actively involved with memorials and, you know, things that would benefit veterans. We do have a unique situation in Mount Pleasant because we have a lot of veteran memorial. We have the Yorktown, again, I volunteered at Patriots Point. That's a big, huge ship. But again, because I'm not Navy, I'm most comfortable at the Vietnam Museum where I hang out at, because on that ship I get lost somewhere because I'm not Navy, I'm Army. And I think that's, you know, the message that a lot of guys get that may not be willing to volunteer at the Yorktown because the assumption is, okay, well, I'm not familiar with the Navy and its operations, so maybe that's not a fit for me. However, we do have a memorial over at Waterfront Park, very nice memorial. But what we can do is we can make that memorial nicer. We can make that memorial a place that annually there's a celebration and there's an honor there for veterans. And I think that's one of the things that I hope to bring to that commission, the Veterans Memorial Commission in Mount Pleasant.
Johnny Wright, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, sir. It's certainly a pleasure talking with you.
Likewise.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was good. Let me double check everything as far as the audio.
All right.